Hey everyone, AHS 1984 is kicked off, and as always, there are many familiar faces.
So we thought it'd be cool to take an in-depth look at every AHS character played by some of our favorite actors. This week, we believe it's only appropriate to kick things off with AHS 1984's lead, Emma Roberts.
Make sure you stick around for the entire video because at the end, Ryan and I will give our picks for our favorite Emma Roberts performance.
But we also want to hear from you guys, so let us know your favorite in the comments below. Obviously, there are a ton of spoilers ahead, guys, so be warned.
Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Let's kick things off with everyone's favorite foul-mouthed witch, Madison Montgomery.
It's too hot, my freaking vagina's sweating.
Emma Roberts made her American Horror Story debut on October 9th, 2013, in the Season 3 premiere of Coven. She played one of the young Coven witches at Miss Robichaux's Academy for Exceptional Young Ladies. We first met Madison when Zoe arrived at the Academy. What better way to introduce yourself to the new kid than scare the living shit out of her?
Jesus, Serena, relax. We're just messing with you.
Madison's childhood was extremely difficult. She grew up in a small town with a poor family and her parents struggled to keep steady jobs. And this led to her mom to kind of force her into beauty and talent pageants in hopes of grooming a child star. And that's exactly what happened as Madison's career became the family lifeline. As the years passed, the budding Scarlett became known as the party girl within Hollywood circles and was often the target of the paparazzi. But her career in front of the camera came to an end as her powers emerged. During an argument with her director, Madison used telekinesis to drop a spotlight and kill the poor dude.
The light hit him just fine.
All he said was hit your mark.
Back at the Academy, after yet another fight at dinner with the girls, she's almost forced to invite Zoe to the frat party taking place nearby. Within the first few minutes at the party, Madison catches the attention of one frat boy in particular. She commands him to go get her a drink, and he does. But he also spikes her drink with roofies. In one of the most horrific scenes from this series, a half-conscious Madison is gang-raped by a group of frat boys. They quickly flee the scene, and as they drive away, Madison uses her powers to flip the party bus upside down. Only 2 of the frat boys survive the crash, including the main rapist. Zoe decides to get revenge on him by using her gift while he recovers in the hospital. And yes, this is one of the weirdest scenes ever in the show. To pay her back, Madison helps Zoe bring her crush Kyle back from the dead. He was one of those dead frat boys. But it doesn't go that smoothly. They collect a bunch of different body parts and they do the best they can.
We take the best boy parts, we attach them to Kyle's head, and we build the perfect boyfriend.
Fast forward and let's discuss what led up to Madison's first death. That's right, she dies twice in Coven. The reigning Supreme Fiona takes Madison under her wing, or more likely she felt threatened by Madison's expanding powers. Fiona eventually revealed that she's dying of cancer and that Madison must be the ascending Supreme that's draining her life force. One night at the school, Fiona pleaded with Madison to kill her, using the same exact knife that Fiona used to murder the previous Supreme. Unsurprisingly, Fiona then slashes Madison's throat.
Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it!
No way that this was an accident. Fiona had Spalding get rid of the body, but he actually just added her corpse to his doll collection. Being the good friend that she is, yet again, Zoe brings Madison back from the dead with the help of Misty Day.
I need a cigarette.
Madison would then repay Zoe's gratitude by sleeping with Kyle. Ah, what a great friend. The Coven soon finds out that Fiona had murdered Madison. In one of the best moments of Season 3 and the series as a whole, Madison reveals to Fiona that she's back from the dead and aiming to become the next Supreme.
Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
When Zoe finds out about Madison and Kyle's relationship, she isn't happy at all. But then Madison proposes that they have a threesome. All right, sure. It turns out that threesomes are messy, even for witches and dead people. Madison eventually gets jealous, and it's clear Kyle and Zoe are falling in love. Madison takes her anger out on just about everyone, fighting with Zoe, Kyle, and Misty.
Stupid bitch.
Now, Madison believed that she was the Ascending Supreme, but you need to prove it by passing the 7 wonders. The test took the lives of both Misty and Zoe, leaving Queenie and Madison as the 2 remaining challengers. Queenie fails to bring Zoe back to life during the test of Vitalum Vitalis, while Madison refused to make any attempt. Instead, she kills a fly and brings it back to life. Nice try, Madison. She then attempts to pass divination to find an item belonging to the former Supreme, but she fails to do so. Unsurprisingly, Madison throws a tantrum and storms off. Kyle eventually tracks her down and demands she pay for refusing to bring Zoe back to life. He then strangles Madison to death as we watch Cordelia successfully bring Zoe back, thus becoming the new Supreme.
Luckily, that wasn't the last we saw of Madison, as AHS Apocalypse welcomed her back during the crossover season. A few years before the bombs wiped out all of civilization, we find out that Madison's death had transported her to her personal hell, literally working in retail.
No. Please don't call my manager. Manager! I need a manager over here!
But then Michael Langdon showed up, worked some of his dark magic, and successfully brought her back to life. With Madison and Queenie in tow, a shocked Cordelia collapses at the sight of Michael's immense powers.
In the present day of Halloween 2021, Cordelia, Myrtle, and Madison return to the Hawthorne School, now Outpost 3, to revive their fallen sisters.
I always thought the world would end with fire and ice, not witches and warlocks.
Together, with the help of the Coven witches and Mallory's driving skills, they are able to stop Michael Langdon from reaching his goal of the apocalypse. But not before the show kills her off one more time, this time with a bang.
By the way, when the timeline is reset by Mallory, the foul-mouthed Madison is most likely back in retail hell, and she kinda deserves it, to be honest. Next up, let's take a look at Roberts' portrayal of the fraud fortune teller Maggie Esmerelda. She was first introduced in the third episode of Freak Show on October 22, 2014. Maggie was created by director Michael Uppendahl and writer James Wong, based on a concept developed by Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk.
And just like Robert's prior role, Maggie comes from a rough background. She was an orphan who, as a young girl, was forced to fend for herself and was led to pickpocketing to survive. That would be until 1941 when she meets Stanley, who would cover for her when she was stopped by a police officer for theft. He would become her Yoda for all things crime, refraining from any romantic relationship due to her young age and his closeted homosexuality. And for years, the two would scam across the nation before they would make their way to the American Morbidity Museum.
Dr. Mansfield?
Miss Hemmings, have you met my lab assistant, Ms. Rothschild?
Oh.
Maybe my brightest pupil yet?
Oh, that's not true.
The two were quickly revealed to be scam artists after the owner of the museum discovered that they tried to fake the specimen they were trying to peddle, saying it was the fetus of a Sasquatch. Right before they hit the road and the police likely showing up, the tour guide stops them and tells them if they do find anything real, to bring it back and she would pay them for it. This is when Stanley got the bright idea to head to South Florida with Maggie and try their luck scamming Frau and Elsa's Cabinet of Curiosities.
Coney Island's a little cold this time of year. How about Florida?
Maggie would soon pull up to the freak show and meet Jimmy, where she would tell him that she's a fortune teller. He then takes her to Elsa Mars, who at first is very suspicious that she may be a fraud, yet she buys it after Maggie feeds into Elsa's narcissism and desire for fame. And it doesn't take long for Maggie to call Stanley and tell him that she thinks this is a bad idea, and he would assure her that everything will be fine. Yeah, okay. Not even a full 24 hours later, Maggie would be gagged and stuffed into a box with Dandy Mott dressed up as a clown, planning to saw her in half. Oh, the foreshadowing. And with the help of Jimmy, Maggie escapes Dandy and Twisty's grasp.
Later on, Stanley asks Maggie to kill Jimmy for his lobster hands. She declines and comes up with a plan to kill Ma Petite instead. So the next night, Maggie carried Ma Petite into the barn and put her in a jar to drown her. However, she would have a change of heart and bring her back to the freak show unharmed. This pissed off Stanley to no end, and would lead to him seeking the assistance of Dell to get the job done. And with that, Ma Petite's body, and Salty's head, are sold to the museum by Stanley. Stanley sucks. At this point, Desiree becomes extremely suspicious about all the freaks disappearing in such a short amount of time, realizing that the deaths picked up around the time Maggie and Stanley showed up.
Later on, Maggie and Desiree are at the museum and she sees the morbid end to poor Ma Petite. She also finds a jar containing Jimmy's hands, which good old Stanley had cut off and sold to the museum so he could afford a lawyer. Maggie, thinking that this means Jimmy is also dead, faints. Turns out, Jimmy is very much alive and very much pissed off at Stanley and Maggie. Even with her pleas for forgiveness, he doesn't accept her apology. And it only gets worse for Maggie. Arguably, Maggie Esmeralda has the most visual gruesome death scene out of any character on the series to date. Yes, maybe even more than the nail gun scene.
Fast forward to the next day when Bet and Dot refused to be sawed in half for Chester Krebs' magic trick, leaving Maggie to volunteer. Apparently, she had already forgotten about the last time she was in this predicament. From there, Chester hallucinates and cuffs her feet together, making it completely impossible for her to escape. And the rest is history. Desiree gives a
She had it coming.
and tells the freaks to bury her and steal her jewelry.
Let's move on to Serena Belinda. Colt marks Emma Roberts' shortest role on AHS, but she certainly left her mark on season 7. Serena was a network newscaster who was willing to do whatever the hell she could to get on the Today Show, even if that meant sleeping with Dylan McDermott.
Dermot Mulroney. No?
Correct answer was Dermot Mulroney.
Serena repeatedly clashed with her colleague Beverly Hope, who was actually working with cult leader Kai Anderson. Long story short, this didn't work out for Serena. From there, she votes for Trump, hates puppies, and finally gets stabbed to death by a pack of clowns while her dumbass cameraman watches on, only to eventually himself get stabbed to death by the same pack of clowns. Finally, we have to mention Emma Roberts' most recent performance as Brooke Thompson in American Horror Story 1984.
We know she loves aerobics, and she befriends a group of teens at the Perfect 10 aerobics studio.
We also know that she narrowly survived an attack from Richard Ramirez.
And it seems that she keeps to herself, she lives alone, and she describes herself as the last American virgin. And so far, it looks like she's playing our final girl this season. Okay, it's time to decide, Ryan. What's your favorite performance?
I think it's Madison Montgomery in a landslide. It's obviously the most iconic one of all these performances.
Not Serena Belinda?
No, that was like nothing. You know, she's in it such a short period of time, and it's not really memorable. But Madison Montgomery, like, she had an attitude. She was mean as hell. She did some horrible things in that season, but you still kind of rooted for her and for the witches, right? So I have to say that Emma Roberts as Madison Montgomery, I couldn't imagine another actor playing her. Having said all that, who is your final pick? Which performance is the best?
It's, of course, Serena Madison. I'm sorry. It is. It's Madison. I love her redemption arc, or I guess tiny redemption arc in Apocalypse, and I can't wait to see her return in season 10, if that's still the plan.
Yes, Coven Witch is back for sure. So those are our favorite performances by Emma Roberts, but we want to hear what you guys think in the comments below.
And of course, you can also hit us up on our Instagram, where you'll be able to see a bunch of our bloopers for each week.
Every time we screw up, it's going to be there.
Every time.
Lots of screw ups.